Shreepoorna S Rao. He's the founder of Arctus Aerospace, which is a company that is commercializing the stratosphere.
Yeah.
So basically sending UAVs up into the stratosphere to do all kinds of stuff. We'll talk about what those things actually are in the second half of the conversation. But as you all know by now, the drill is first we go through the news and then we talk about you. So couple of news items here to cover, and there's not that much. It was kind of a slow Monday in Indian tech. But one of the updates is this company, Midigata. They've raised $5.9 million in their Series A round led by Nexus Venture Partners. So this is a Mumbai-based cyber resilience startup. Also, by the way, the round saw participation from Titan Capital and WEH Ventures. And so this company is a full stack cyber resilience platform. Like I said, they do all kinds of stuff, cybersecurity, risk management, compliance, and also cyber insurance. So they're planning to establish 3 global security operations centers, one in Bengaluru, one in Mumbai, and one in Delhi. This capital, of course, is going to enable them to do that. And they actually have already 500 enterprise customers at this point. So they're doing quite well. And also, apart from expanding, the funds are going to be used for hiring and product development. So that was one of the updates that I wanted to share with you all. One of the more noteworthy fundraisers in Indian tech that happened, or at least was announced on Monday. Another update, though, which might be more relevant for all of you builders who are watching, is Push AI's hackathon. So they're hosting a 4-day hackathon. This is going to be a pretty long one. So anyone participating is going to have quite a bit of stamina. But it's actually a 2-part hackathon, and I'll get into what that means. It's starting on the 8th of August, though. So it's just a couple of days away at this point. And the prizes are OpenAI credits. So the first prize, you're going to get $25,000 US in credits. Second prize, $15,000. And then the third prize will be $10K in credits for OpenAI. And so phase 1, what they're calling it is B Wozniak. By the way, sorry for the noise. This is one of the perks of shooting a podcast on 100 Feet Road in Indranagar. So the first phase of the hackathon is B Wozniak. And so what that means is basically focusing on building something that people genuinely want to use and using Push AI, using the platform to build that thing. And then the second phase is called B Jobs, right? So first you B Wozniak, you build the thing, then you B Jobs, and you sell it or you market it and you get people to actually use it. And so that's an interesting part about this hackathon, is that it's not just about building, it's also about getting people to use the thing that you built. So the B Wozniak part is going to take 48 hours. You have 48 hours to build this thing using the Push AI platform. And then the second 48 hours is basically trying to get traction and trying to go viral. So does that mean just posting about it on X, maybe being a reply guy, maybe making a short video and trying to go viral that way? If you have 24 hours to make a video, I think a lot of you could probably make something pretty incredible. And so, yeah, the judging is actually not going to be based exclusively on the tech and what you build. It's also going to be based on traction and virality. So they're going to be looking and seeing how performative the thing that you built was from an audience and a user standpoint. So pretty cool concept. I'm not sure how often that happens in hackathons, how often the judging and the prize allocation is based on performance and actual user traction. This is the first time that I'm seeing it. Probably it's happened before, but kind of an interesting concept that I wanted to put in front of you all. And then the third news item that I have for you all is Bindi AI. As you all know, I just recently sat down with one of the founders of Bindi AI, and we talked about the journey of the company, what they're building, what the future looks like. And so as of, I think it was today or maybe yesterday evening, they launched their LinkedIn agent. And so basically this agent can post photos, videos, and captions on LinkedIn on your behalf that apparently sound like you, or you could make it sound like anything that you want to. I don't think it's restricted to you and your personality. You can pretty much do anything you want with Bindi AI, but they've built this agent specifically for LinkedIn. And so it's great. Bindi, thank you for increasing the amount of AI slop in the world. But I think there's still a lot of potential, right? Not just for Slop, but all kinds of creative use cases. And especially for me, I think, covering tech and looking at the news that's happening in Indian startups, I think there's a lot of potential for AI to aggregate that information and then be a social media disseminator of that information, right? Posting updates very quickly as they're happening, just sort of using
streamline a lot of processes. Which usually you need a lot of people around, a team around.
The lowest hanging fruit, of course, is just slop, right? And just like outputting stuff that's useless and meaningless, but generates engagement.
Yeah, we have been seeing that on social media already right now.
Yeah, especially with AI videos.
Videos,
My gosh. I've been fooled by a couple of them. The ones that are freaking me out right now are when something happens to a person's face. Like what people are doing is they'll put like a piece of food on their face and then they'll ask their dog to come and like eat it, right? But then the dog, like then it goes to the AI, like they must take the last frame of the video, for example, and then the prompt that they give is let the dog like eat the person's face, and it turns into like cake or something. Exactly.
It's scary.
It's very scary.
It's very scary.
So yeah, I don't know if that qualifies as slop. It's quite interesting. It's quite creative in a sense. It's quite terrifying. But do we need more of that on the internet, or do we need content like Runtime? I think I think we need more Runtime, less dogs eating people's faces and eating cake. Okay, so now I want you to tell me about Arctus. You came on my radar. I think you had posted a picture of you in an empty warehouse, or maybe it's a hangar.
Yeah, it's a warehouse.
Yeah, for your warehouse for your UAVs, I'm assuming, and you wrote something like "coming soon," which was very interesting for me. I'm super excited to visit that space at some point. But then also, I think just yesterday or maybe the day before, you posted a video saying that you're hiring, and you had this video of like a camera on the bottom of one of your UAVs as it's taking off from the runway. And so we'll get to that. I want to learn more about who you're hiring, what roles you're hiring for, what the future of your company looks like. But just at a high level, maybe explain to people what it is that Arctus Aerospace is building, what is the problem that you're solving, and then I want to get into the story of how this whole thing started, I believe at IIT Madras.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just tell what our company's mission is. We realized that there is a niche in like high altitude where a lot of Earth observation has a lot of potential because the kind of data you can collect from there. It need not be even just in Earth-facing observation. It might be atmospheric data and a lot of that. But there is not many options available for people to go out there. Nobody can buy, let's say, $30 to $100 million Predator drone and fly it, costing around $5,000 to $10,000 an hour and collect data. So we realized that there is a niche here which only the military has the capability to buy and use, but commercial players are totally priced out. It's exclusive and it's a bottleneck. And we came up with the UAV design completely in-house, and we are able to fly these aircrafts for 24 hours at a time, and they fly at around 45,000 feet. We can capture multispectral imagery, optical. We can basically zoom in and see what color of t-shirt you're wearing or what you're scrolling on your phone. And this is more on the fun side of things, but actually on the commercial use case, imagine having the capability to monitor your workforce from the sky for 24 hours at a time, ensuring that the safety protocols are taken care of. For insurance, it's about data. Let's say crops. How does the crop pattern look like? How does fertilizer spring pattern look like? How does rain pattern look like? And having the capability to look at it at a 24-hour scale and doing it over weeks at end at price points which like 10 rupees an hour. That is what we're targeting.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that is what we want to do. That's what we're building at Arctus. We are making high resolution data as accessible as possible without you having to worry about any logistics. Zero infra Earth observation.
That's incredible. Okay, now tell me about how this whole thing started. You're not new to entrepreneurship. I think you have started a startup in the past in the DeFi space. So maybe just tell me, even before IIT Madras, like, do you come from a business family? Where does your entrepreneurial spirit come from? When did that start?
I'm originally from Bangalore, so Surathkal. My house is very close to IIT Surathkal. So because of that, I was fortunate enough to be exposed to engineering pretty early on in life. I built my first quadcopter when I was in 5th grade in school. So I have been technically building aircraft for the last 10 years, half of my life, 10, 12 years of my life. But Yeah, I mean, I was pretty interested in space. I used to watch every single ISRO, NASA launches, and like it used to be a dream for me to go and work in NASA. My family, actually, my dad and my mom both are not from STEM background. My dad studied in he studied Kannada. He was a gold medalist in that, but then he ditched his job and went into asset management for HNIs, and then he went in a different route from what he studied. My mom also is a school teacher in back in home. But yeah, 11th and 12th, the average JE grind. I was put into coaching. I studied and I wrote my JE advance in 2020. And this is like height of COVID. We are sitting locked at home. Our advanced JE advance, the examination which you write to get into IIT, it got pushed by 6 months. And this was the point where I was, sitting at home. And this is the first time in my life my dad gave me access to high speed unlimited internet. We got a fiber optic connection at home. It primarily to write mock tests, but I used it to watch YouTube, and I see that like Elon Musk is landing rockets, and I was like, holy shit, how is he able to do this? And then I got to know about this entire world called around startups, and like read all of Paul Graham's essays, YC Startup School, full got into that rabbit hole, and then I was like, okay, this is very interesting. This is like the perfect trifecta of doing what you like, you make a lot of money, and you also have an impact on the world, a positive impact. And this is like I at that point of time I decided, if I'm going to do something, it's going to be, I'm going to go into an IIT, do aerospace engineering, and start a startup. I write my J advance and I get a decent rank, but I couldn't get aerospace engineering. So that's when I decided, like, let me look at what can I do. I wanted, if not aerospace engineering, deep tech. And in 2020, I think Ether, Agnikul, ePlane, Galaxy, all of these companies were getting funding, building really cool hardware, and they're coming out of this one place called IIT Madras. So I was like, okay, this is a cool place to be in. A lot of cool stuff's happening. People are building Hyperloop and all of that. I was like, okay, I'm going to IIT Madras. I took civil engineering in IIT Madras, and then
Can I ask, what is it about IIT Madras that makes it the best university in all of India for hardware startups?
I would say it's more about the environment there. It's not a single thing which defines out. It's more about what has been happening throughout history, like through the history of IIT Madras. A lot of alumni interaction with the college. So there's this place in IIT Madras called Center for Innovation. It is a completely student-run space. It's a massive building where no faculty is involved. We have a faculty advisor just to monitor things, but it's completely student-run, managed by student, and projects come out of there, and their competition teams, like the Hyperloop team in IIT Madras. It's part of the Center for Innovation, and I think that's one of the multiple ecosystems there, like the incubation cell and the research park, and uh, because of like these things around there, when you see people building stuff and they're just going and building it, just do it. That's what happens. You see people walking out of hostel room with rockets in their hand, and airplanes, and you see like unmanned golf carts just wandering the campus, and like when you see that, it's just cool. It feels like you're living the future, and that's what you want to do. So a lot of people out there, they keep exploring, they keep building new stuff, and I think that's one reason even I started out. But I initially had a small stint in crypto, where I started my first startup in that. It didn't go a lot, it didn't go places, but it again. This was something which I looked at Elon Musk. He had his PayPal before SpaceX, so I tried to see if this crypto thing could become my PayPal. It did not, but I had a really good learning experience there. I had a co-founder. We had a team. We had around $500,000 of assets managed through that app which we had built in the DeFi platform, and it was going great like for 1.5 years. And then the crypto crash, where the FTX and the Terra Luna crash, all of that happened, and then we lost a lot of assets there, and we decided, this is not a space we wanted to be until it matures enough. And I, we shut down the startup, and we had to let go a lot of people. It was a terrible experience, and I was in my third year of college at that point of time. And yeah, I mean, while I was building this crypto startup, I was also, part of the core team at the IIT Madras Aero Modeling and Aerial Robotics Club, where we participated in a lot of competitions. I got a patent in my name, and I was involved in the hardware deep tech space while I was doing everything else. And in my final year, I started Arctus, which is what we're doing right now. But again, the journey of Arctus hasn't been as I found this market and I'll come in. Like, it has been multiple pivots through multiple sectors, speaking to a lot of people, like getting told no in on your face, and getting rejection from multiple places. But now what we have found is that we have found this major insight and like a particular market niche, which if we go after, we have a capability to like have a massive impact without people knowing about the impact which we have. Like we are building the infrastructure for Earth observation, and that's what we are doing.
Amazing. I have one more question about the IIT Madras days.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that people start companies while they're in college, or is it better to wait?
I would say the 4 years which you have when you're doing engineering, I think those are the best time to experiment and the fuck around and find out thing. I did that, and I mean every single day you'd find someone working on something, and I'd just go in and barge in, and although it might have annoyed a lot of people, but I used to do that. The thing about, I would say, start something, build something in college, and it's better to have that messing around phase in college, because that's the safest space you can be. You need not worry about paying your bills. You need not worry about you have a hostel room, you have a mess, your food and the security is sorted, so you can that's the best place to experiment around and just build things, fail. That's the best place to fail, I would say, in college. And once, I think if you do that at least 2 of the 4 years in college, I would say you'll come out as a better person, and you'll have much more better understanding about what's happening around the world, and have much more insights about stuff, and you'll also understand how to think fundamentally, and that's very important, I feel. And that's what we're actually looking when we're hiring as well. Like we need people who like the kind of stuff we're building, our airplanes. The wingspan of one aircraft is 15 meters. So it's like from this corner to maybe the end of that long of an aircraft. And India is not known for building aircraft. We are known for building rockets, ballistic missiles, but not in aircrafts and jet engines. We have to build that skill in-house, and the way to do it is you need to think fundamentally, divide a problem into fundamental, first principles thinking is what it's known as in mainstream, but understanding physics and then building on top of it, then applying it, that is what engineering is all about, and doing R&D is all about. So we want people who can do that. That's what I have been doing, and my founding team has been doing. All of my founding team again are from IIT Madras. So that's one good advantage we have. But yeah, that is what we look for, like, in hiring.
What was the original idea behind Arctus Aerospace? Was it to build what you're currently building? Was it to build unmanned fighter jets? I think that was one of the ideas. Was that the original idea, or was there something even before that?
There are a couple of pivots which I have been through before that. I started out with medical delivery. Again, this was not like, there was a general, trend at that point of time where Zipline was getting funded, and like a lot of companies in India as well, Airbound also was doing that. What I looked at was not following the trend, but it was also a personal problem for me. My mom was diagnosed with cancer in 2020, and for her medication, there was this medicine called immunotherapy, Keytruda, which is the immunotherapy medicine. If we order it today, it would take 2 weeks to come. Now, while if you miss it by a single day, the delivery get pushed by a week. Now that is insane. And now placing an order, it's not that simple. You first have to get the hospital's permission, doctor's permission, insurance permission, the logistics guy's permission, and get all of those approves together, send it to the US, the company there, the parent company will approve it, then they import it to India. It comes to Bombay within a day. Then from there to Mangalore, which is 300 kilometers from Bangalore, it takes 1.5 weeks. And I had built an aircraft, like a small aircraft, as part of our aero club in IIT Madras, which could fly for 400 kilometers in a single battery charge and can carry half a kg. Now these valves are 30 mm. I can do it. Like if I get my hands on that here, I can deliver it in a couple of hours to Mangalore. And like the entire 2-week time gets shrunk down to maybe 3 days. If I can do that. But then, I spent a lot of time there and realized that medical logistics fundamentally is, scattered and decentralized, and also there's no centralized software platform or a stack on which people are working on, something which ONDC is trying to do it for others, but there's no ONDC for medical logistics. And that's when I decided, okay, this is not a space where I have to fight a multi-layer battle, bring them all to a centralized platform, let everyone adopt it, and then I bring my drones on top of it. Is that what I want to do? And the effort which you put in and the time you have to put in. And let's say if government comes up with a platform like ONDC for that, I'm screwed. I don't want to be in that position where I'm vulnerable to that. And from there we pivoted into defense, and that's where the unmanned fighter jets came in. Like I was looking at the opportunities looking forward. Again, defense is a maze of its own, a lot of complications, regulations, and then even interacting with defense. Right now, it's actually much better than I have to give that credit to them, that they have made it much more streamlined to access defense. They are much more willing to work with startups, and there has been a lot more interest coming forward. But while I was doing that, that's when this opportunity fell through. When we were designing, let's say, an unmanned UAV for defense, not supersonic, but we just wanted to build an aircraft and understand what it takes to build unmanned aircraft that fly for 24 hours at a time at 45,000 feet, carrying 250 kgs of payload. When we were designing that, we came across this opportunity where we're looking at Earth observation just vaguely, and I just saw the numbers. The companies were paying to buy Earth observation data, and it surprised me. Like, Earth observation shouldn't be this expensive. 20-30 dollars for, let's say, 1 square mile or 10 square miles. Like, the pricing varies on the resolution which you want, but the standard is you get like 2 square meters per pixel of data, and that costs you 100K for, let's say, 100 square miles. That was pretty expensive, and not a lot of companies can afford it. And especially if you look outside the US, it's the Earth observation market is not a big market. And like, if you look at why Earth observation has that golden, that dream of having the capability to monitor at any point of time, it is a great dream, but it also needs to be accessible. It should not be expensive. It should not be $100 million to observe Earth. If we can bring it down to $10 million, then a lot of companies will be interested. And the kind of value you can have from persistent Earth observation is well known. People know about it. That's why a lot of satellite companies are coming about. But what we realized was, what do satellite companies do? They build cameras, they put it on a satellite, and they launch it up there. The satellite is a mode of collecting data. Well, if you look at drone companies, they have cameras which they put on their drones, and they fly, and they capture imagery. But there is no particular commercial mode available for high altitude. Like, a lot of companies tried to go around this by building solar airplanes, but then if you look at the payload capacity, they can't carry really good cameras. So we realized, if we can build a really decent aircraft, it's going to be much more expensive than a solar aircraft, of course. But if the kind of data which we can collect has much more value, like 10x more value than what a satellite can provide, but also the persistence and the endurance of what a quadcopter can do, not the endurance, like the resolution of what a quadcopter can do, that would be that holy grail between like the tools, like that intersects between those two parts. And that's what we found out. And like, if we can build it at much more cheaper. So I told you, right, $10 to $15 for 1 square mile. We can do it in like 50 to 100 rupees, $1. That is what we're targeting, and that's the commercial pricing for us. When we operate these drones, it must be like 10 rupees. That's the margins we're looking at, and that is what we're building towards. So we are currently building this aircraft and operating this aircraft ourselves. We collect this data and we hand over the data. We are a data company for our customers, but the way we collect data is fundamentally different from a standard Earth observation company. And that is something, that unlock, which we have been able to do. Like, building the aircraft in-house is necessary because there's no commercial option available for unmanned high altitude vehicles. So that's what we do.
Building aircraft in-house, though, is obviously an expensive endeavor. Yeah. R&D in general is very expensive when it comes to hardware. How have you been financing this? So the good thing is, when I started out, when I got out of the crypto venture, I was able to make some money out of it, and I had around 10-15 lakhs of capital at that point of time, and I was able to build some prototypes. And the thing is, we have been iterating for the last 1 year. We have been continuously doing R&D for the last 1 year. While the end use case has changed, fundamentally, what are we building? We're building an aircraft. So that has helped. That focus has helped us build for the last 1 year. And with that initial money, I was able to build a particular prototype. And then grad capital at that point of time had this program called Atomic Fellowship, where they were giving, I think now it's $4,000. At that point of time, they were giving $5,000 for free, like equity free, like non-dilutive grant. And that first didn't sit well with me. I was like, why would anyone give money for free? But then actually they were giving grants out for free, but they also have their investment program as well. So I was like, let me apply for this grant, and I got that grant. And with that money, we were able to build even more further and build a bit more market validation on top of that. And once we realized that grad capital came in with their check,
where they gave us $40,000, 30 lakh. At that point of time, that was a massive chunk of money in my final year of college. And I graduated last year, by the way. So this is like in 2024 January when they came in. Uh, and with that money, I was able to get a bunch of my teammates together, and we started building. Like our entire thesis is, if we don't have the product, what are we validating for? So we started, scaling down the platform. Let's build a smaller aircraft, collect data, and see what it takes to build it. Then we scale it up and we build more, and we scale it up and we understand more. So that's what we have been doing for the last 1 year. Grad Capital came in, and then we got a grant from Emergent Ventures as well. And all of these checks came in at a really crucial time, because the bank account was approaching zero and the money came in. And then recently, early this year, we got backed by South Park Commons, and I'm a founder fellow at South Park Commons. And then after that, we closed a pre-seed round recently with Version 1 Ventures and South Park Commons.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So what does it actually take to build a UAV like this that can fly at 45,000 feet for 24 hours at a time? How hard is it?
Yeah. So
this guy's gonna take off too.
He's gonna take off. It's a nice bike, but yeah. Building an aircraft now, aerospace is like the industry had its golden era. Like the way, if you look at it, AI is having its golden era now. Aerospace had that during Cold War. So a lot of aerospace is already documented. We have a lot of paperwork and literature we can read on top of. But the thing is, reading literature and applying that, it's completely different. Like it's a whole ball game in its own, and not a lot of people can do that. The thing is, building aircraft, as much as it is engineering, it's also art. And like US has been doing it for so long that they are now masters and they have that edge over it. Now, if you look at India, we are not a country that has been building aircraft at the scale at which US or any other country like Israel or France has been doing it. And that's what we want to do. We want to basically fast track that entire process and bring us up to date with with the way people build aircraft in the US. We want to bring that culture here. And how we have been doing it is, the good thing is we have been able, the backing which we got from South Park Commons, they have a really good community in the US. And a lot of folks in that community have background in aerospace or in and around aerospace and space tech. So I have been able to talk to them, understand how they go about thinking. And again, there is not a particular framework you can follow, which can help follow the step 1, 2, 3, and you get an aircraft. That doesn't work that way. Physics doesn't behave that way. So we need to understand fundamentally how physics works, and then from there apply it, build a layer on top of it. The sophistication grows on top of fundamentals. So that's what we have been doing. Like our entire team, we don't have expertise at building aircraft at that scale, but we're learning it. We're building it step by step. Right now, the videos which I put out on Twitter, that is a 2.5 meter wingspan aircraft that flies at 5,000 feet. It can carry around 2.5 kgs of payload, and it can stay in there for 3 hours. This is something which we built completely in-house. The design, the flight computer, and the way we communicate with it, the automation, all of that we have been doing it in-house, and we have been able to achieve flight at 5,000 feet, sustained flight at 5,000 feet. We have around 10 to 15 flight hours at this point of time. And we have been collecting Earth observation data as well. I have a bunch of images. I have put that image out as well on Twitter, where we collected the first images which we got from our aircraft. Now what we're doing is, now we have expertise at this scale. Now we are scaling it up 2.5 times. We are building a 5 to 6 meter wingspan aircraft that will fly at 20,000 feet, carry 50 kgs, and an endurance of 10 hours. So that is, once we build that, we can understand what does it take to build that aircraft, and like how does physics behave at that altitude, because you're not sitting there to observe. You're building products that go there, and then you need to collect data and understand on top of it. And that is what we have been doing. We are building that aircraft. That aircraft will be ready by the end of next month, and then we'll be doing flight trials on that. And by the end of this year, we'll have that mainstream and that platform stabilized. And after that, we'll be building the final product which I was talking about, which flies at 45,000 feet, can stay in there for 24 to 36 hours at a time, and carry 250 kgs of payload. And the reason why we want to carry 250 kgs of payload is we want to have the capability to carry an optical camera that can zoom in and give you imagery at 1 square centimeter per pixel, which means I can see Caleb in a 144p image from that altitude. We want to carry hyperspectral cameras, we want to carry infrared, we want to carry electro-optical, and we want to have the capability to carry all of these cameras in a single flight and get 24 hours of flight time. And that's the reason why we have the 250 kgs, because these cameras are heavy in themselves, like 20 to 30 kgs individually. So let's say 20 kgs, we have 5 cameras, that's 100 kgs. And then we also need to keep a buffer. Let's say we have to upgrade a camera. We want to put cameras facing multiple directions. That's what we have this capability for. That's what we're doing.
So you wouldn't be building the cameras in-house, right?
No,
or
no.
the stabilizers or anything?
Not at this point of time. We don't want to work on that.
You're
because
just worried about the aircraft.
Yeah, the cameras are a solved problem. They're available commercially. We can buy it off the shelf. These aircrafts are not.
Are there not pieces that you can buy and put together to get something similar to what you're working on?
We can do that, but the thing is, you'll not be able to get the specs we are targeting for. You can maybe hit 45,000 feet, but you can only fly for 5 hours. Maybe you can fly for 24 hours, but you can't carry 250 kgs. Maybe you can carry 5 kgs. These are the things which are capable only if you buy off the shelf and aggregate. But the reason we want to build the entire aircraft in-house is we can understand every single part of the aircraft, like the wings. How are you going to optimize space inside the wing to carry the most fuel? So by the way, we are not using electric propulsion. We have internal combustion engines, which we use, turboprop engines. And placing that engine, where do you want to place that engine on an aircraft? Every single detail on an aircraft affects the end parameter. And when we build everything in-house, we are not building the engine in-house, by the way. Engines are again a solved problem. There are a lot of manufacturers of engines, and they have been doing it. But what we have been doing is, we are still live, right?
We're still live, yeah.
Yes.
People are calling me on my laptop. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, if you're able to build everything in-house, you can optimize for the end parameters which we have stated. Our end goal, we don't care how the aircraft look. We want 24 hours of flight time. We want it to fly at 45,000 feet, and we want it to carry this particular payload. And if we build it in-house, we can achieve that like very quickly. And also that helps us fast track the manufacturing and R&D process as well, because you need not rely on vendors. We can understand everything. Again, I keep focusing on the point of understanding physics, because the materials which you use, you go from 1 mm to 1.5 mm thickness, that changes the entire scale of the aircraft because it's massive. The weight increases 10x, and all of that stuff happens when you do that. So that's why we build everything in-house. We can't aggregate something off the shelf and operate.
I also know that originally when you were talking about doing fighter jets, which is no longer the focus, but at that time, the focus was also making those autonomous.
Yes.
Is that also a big component of what you're planning to build going forward, or is it going to be just sort of remote controlled?
Yeah. So if you look at our end use case, what we want to do is we want to deploy these aircrafts out of private airstrips and have 30-minute revisit time. So let's say a refinery wants to take imagery for the next 24 hours. They can go on our website and map that area, pay for that area, and in 30 minutes we'll have an eye in the sky. We can zoom in, we can give them live streaming, we can give them any multispectral capability. And to do that, we need autonomous capability. We can't have a guy sitting and flying each aircraft, although we will have a guy sitting as a backup in case things go wrong. But the fundamental operations is fully based on autonomy. We will be building that in-house. So our pilot, his job is just, we take off from here. This is where one refinery is. They have called us for the next 2 hours. And then there is a solar farm. They need us for the next 5 hours. We just map it and say 2 hours here, 5 hours here, then come back and land. That's it. It'll take off. We'll have to communicate with the air traffic control. That's why we have the guy there. But other than that, the rest of the operations of the aircraft will do on its own. We need not even have to worry about it. We just look at the data and we take inference on top of it.
Are you building this for the Indian market primarily?
We are looking at a global market here. We want to build it out of Bangalore. That's the primary goal, because we want to set up that culture here. And I think this place has that in it to build such thing. But we are looking at our operations globally. We want to look at the US market. We want to look at the Middle East market. And there's a lot of opportunities here. Like commercially, this aircraft didn't exist. Imagine having the capability to cloud seed from this aircraft. Like there are multiple avenues which have been opening up because of the pricing which we can unlock because we are building the aircraft in-house. It's all downstream effects of this one decision which we make, and that is what we are doing. Like a lot of opportunities are coming up.
So then what happens though if someone, as you're describing, someone goes on the online portal and they're looking at a specific place that they want to map? I guess there will be some sort of security layer provision for making sure that people don't select an area that is like
not there.
off limits.
Off limits,
right?
yeah. So that's the way we look at our end use case business is we do want to work with enterprises and with PSUs like refineries, oil and gas, shipping, and all of those. So there will be actually partnering up with these guys. We know. So to give some context, 99% of imagery captured by satellites has no use commercial. It's just that around 2 million square miles, which has like high commercial value. And these are wind farms, solar farms, agricultural land, some refineries, shipping routes. So we know that these are all mapped places and these are fixed points on Earth. And we base our operation based on that. We find the best or most optimum place to put an airstrip where we can take off and do our operations from. And let's say we don't want randomly anyone to come on a website and maybe go to area 51 and ask us imagery for that. That's not what we want to do. But we do want to enable, if someone we are not a B2C company. So let's say Google Maps. Imagine having the capability to zoom into the crosshair, having the capability to zoom in and see real time how's the traffic. Not just a red line, but how many vehicles are there, what will happen, is there something happening, is it flooded. Imagine you have the capability to do that and not even have to worry about prices. Like right now, people don't worry about mobile data. We want to do that with Earth observation. That is something which we want. That's the end use case. That's the end goal which we have. Like having the capability to map Earth real time. Actually real time, not an image every 20 hours.
So satellite imagery is obviously expensive.
Yes.
The company itself has to send these satellites up. They're very expensive to make. They're expensive to deploy into space.
And put 300 in orbit as well, constellations.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas what you're describing, you also have a lot more control over the location that is being imaged.
Yes.
But I just wanted to know, what are some of the advantages of satellite imagery as compared to something in the stratosphere, for example?
Yeah. So satellite does have its advantages, but it primarily comes in handy in use cases where it involves national defense, like national security. So you know that when Operation Sindoor happened, we were able to get the images of their airstrips bombed up by our missiles. The way we were able to do it is because there are a lot of private. Kawa Space was one of the companies which was continuously releasing images of their air bases being destroyed, and it does have use case there. But if you look at commercial value, that's why we are a commercial company. We don't want to, the defense use case is there, but we don't see it being as massive as the impact we can have by working in commercial Earth observation. Like the kind of money a refinery is going to pay for us to just give them the data set of how well the distilleries are working, how well the pipelines are. And right now they spend like 100, 200 crores a year on managing this because they send people out there. We can do that without them even having to worry about the logistics of it. They just come on a portal and they get the data. How are their pipelines? How healthy they are? Are the people wearing like this? This has multiple effects from one data. Like the refinery can hand this data over to their insurance provider and say, look, our safety record has been this well, so reduce the insurance prices. Like this is one use case. They can go to contractors and say, look, we take care of our laborers. We give them safety vests. They wear hazmat suits. So you need not worry about it. You can come and work with us. They can work with vendors and people who supply them pipelines and say, look, we have this kind of pipelines. We need this kind of pipelines. You have been supplying pipelines that have been degrading. You can see, look at the imagery here. Over the last 1 month, there has been wear and tear at these places. And you can go and reinforce there. This is just one customer, the amount of value we can provide. Imagine this, but for multiple industries: agriculture, shipping, trade, solar farms, renewable energy. A lot of use cases here.
So then setting up the starting point, not the launch pad, the runway or the airstrip for these UAVs, is that going to be a demand-led process where you're thinking first, okay, let's make sure that they're close enough to the refineries that we're hoping to onboard as customers? How will you decide how to distribute your runways? Or are you just are there existing runways that you'll be using?
So the good thing about it is, even when we start out, there are a lot of private airstrips in this country or around the world as well. our aircraft can operate out of any certified airstrip. So we need not worry about having to build our own infra. We can basically rent out those airstrip, or we can rent out hangars there and use those runways.
But that becomes a limitation too, because if your customer comes to you and says,
Yeah.
I want you to image a refinery that is outside of the range from
Yeah.
one of these airstrips, what's the solution to that?
Yeah, the thing is, we have a range of 5,000 kilometers per flight. With that, we can map our entire coastline in a single go almost. So we can cover half of India with 2 aircrafts.
So it's not a limitation.
It's not a limitation. That's why we are that focus on 24 to 36 hours of endurance is for us to overcome this limitation of having to worry about range. You can take off from Chennai, land in Bangalore, take off from Bangalore, go to Bombay, take off from Bombay, go to Delhi. You can do any of that, and there are multiple airstrips in every single state. You can just land it in an airstrip, refuel it, send it somewhere else, and this is more of an operations play. And the way we are building this aircraft also helps in that because of the endurance it has.
How difficult is that though, to have your UAVs, which are unmanned, landing on an airstrip, potentially one that you've never landed on before, and then have someone refuel it? Like, is it just kind of plug and play? Have airstrips and the companies that run them, have they just made it that easy? Or is this operations piece going to be a pretty complex part of your business at a certain point once you get out of R&D?
Yes, this is going to be complex. The thing is, if you look at the civil aviation industry, there are standards for everything. The connector which you have, you refuel the aircraft, the fuel as well. All of these are standardized, and there are particular standards which every single aircraft, even Indigo uses a particular fuel, and the same fuel is used by others. And all of these aircraft use similar fuel. And the operations as well, we do need to have people, we do need to have mapped out the airstrips where we are going to be operating out of. We can't just randomly land in an airstrip. That's not feasible for us. But the good thing about having the endurance and the range is that we can have our people deployed in maybe 5 to 6 airstrips around the country, and we can then not worry about operations. We can land in any of these 5 airstrips, and our aircraft can easily travel to any of these airstrips and travel back as well. That's what we are looking at.
So how much is it going to cost? Let's say I want to use
you want to buy one aircraft?
Not buy it, but I want to send it on a trip, a 24-hour trip.
It'll cost you around $1,200.
Okay, so that's very accessible.
Yes.
And if it's a shorter trip, it might be even more affordable.
Yeah, $100, $200, $500. That's what we want to keep that flexibility, because we can offer that flexibility because we're not selling you the aircraft. We are selling you data. You say you want data for 5 hours. We were like, how much does it cost for us to operate for this 5 hours for you? And then rest of the time we can slot the 24 hours to other customers as well. And one aircraft can service multiple customers in a single flight. So it's going to be much more cheaper for you than $1,200. It might be $100, it might be $50. That's what we're looking at.
Okay, but you're saying even if I want to book the thing for the whole 24 hours, $1,200
to $1,500. That's it.
Wow. That's basically the cost of the fuel
and our operations and the rent, all of those included.
Wow. What is there?
A single dollar on top of it is a profit for us.
Is there a component to this around privacy and safety and ethics? Because I feel like right now we sort of all operate with an assumption that we are being recorded by CCTV cameras and people with smartphones, but it's very sparse coverage. We're not being constantly tracked and documented. Whereas with UAVs, especially ones like what you're describing from Arctus, there's potential for someone with unlimited money, which there's many people who could afford $1,500 per hour for a 24-hour time span, that they could do it all year, right? They could just continuously track somebody or a group of people. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's what defense does right now. They track people from other countries. But the thing is, see, the reason why you are being tracked, let's say on your phone or thing, there's commercial value to it. Is there commercial value for us to track someone?
For you, there isn't, but for your customer,
for my customer, again, we need to look at we need to vet and all of this. The good thing is, since our check size, a single customer is going to come in with maybe $1 million a year. We know these customers, and these customers are not someone, these are not random faces on the internet. These are people working in like high level positions in particular industries. So we will be vetting out and working with only particular verified customers.
Oh,
We don't want to maybe
you don't want to be the Blinkit or Swiggy of,
yeah, not a random guy.
UAV.
Yeah, I think there's no value in it, because our entire goal, our entire delta, I would say, the moat which we have is in our execution, in our operations. While building the aircraft is very fundamental to the product, then how you use that aircraft in business is what defines us as a company. And when we operate with a limited set of customers and we know the value we are providing to them, we'll be spending the least amount of money to give us the most amount of outcome. Like if you spend 100K, we can make 10 million on top of it. Now, if you're monitoring people individually, or if you're monitoring small groups here and there, this operation cost goes to 1 million, and the end outcome may increase. The 10 million might go to 15 million. Do we need to put that effort? I don't think it's that effort. It doesn't make that much sense to put in that effort. So it actually is counterintuitive for us to do that. Spend another 800K to get that 5 million. Rather than that, we can maybe expand to a new market, provide new kind of data to our existing customers, and make the 10 to 100 million for the same 100K spent on a flight. That is where it'll never make commercial sense for us to be hired by maybe, let's say, a random billionaire, and if he wants to stock his X, he can't.
This is what I'm thinking, because the way you described
it will not make sense for us to take up that.
Okay.
We'll have to allot a particular aircraft for him and manage the logistics for that. While I can have that single aircraft service 5 more customers, and I can charge them $5,000 for a flight. Why would I take this $1,000 from him to just maybe stalk someone?
Makes sense.
Or maybe do something illegal.
What are some of the other markets that you think you're likely to enter into? I know it's very early days to even be talking about this, but apart from India, where do you think you'd see demand for a service like Arctus?
Yeah, first US. That's the biggest data market, and like people, they actually are they crave data. I would say because they look at optimizing their end use case. They don't look at cost cutting. India is more of like, how much can I cut cost for the same amount of output? But they're ready to spend $1 million more if the end outcome can increase by, let's say, 100 million. So that is one market where we're looking at. We are speaking to a couple of refineries there, couple of solar farms, and even in Australia as well. Like any place with a large land mass where we can help them make things easier, where we can optimize things for them, where we can increase productivity for them, we have an opportunity to break into. And being the only commercially viable option, we are the only option in the market. And that, I think, being a monopoly helps there.
How many are you right now in the company?
We are a 5-member team. That's it, pretty early. But all of these 5 members are people coming from IIT Madras who have background in Hyperloop, in rocketry, in autonomous vehicles, in aero modeling, in aerospace, and drone swarms and all of that. All of us have spent time, really like 2-3 years of our life on that. And right now, again, we're looking for people on similar lines, on people who can take up new challenges and not look at, like, you can't Google this. You can't Google what kind of actuator can I use on my aircraft. You'll have to come up with that. You'll have to design that. You'll have to work on that. And that is something which we are looking for in people whom we want to hire.
But also people who are willing to live way up in northern Bengaluru.
Yeah, coming like we are speaking about that warehouse. So we are actually building a 25,000 square feet facility where we want to build these aircraft. It is located in Tanisandra. It's North Bangalore. For people who don't know where Tanisandra is, it's near Jakkur. Jakkur is pretty famous. And yeah, we are going to be manufacturing our UAVs out of there, and we'll be doing the R&D out of that. That's going to be primarily an R&D and a development facility where we'll be building these aircrafts for the next 1 year. So we'll be locking in there and we'll be building these.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want the people of the internet, the people of the world to know before we wrap up here?
I would say it's more from people who are excited, who want to work on this. And this is, I think, this is a niche which we have been able to find, which if you talk to people outside, it's not that obvious. People say, why will anyone want to put aircraft when you can put satellites in the sky? But once you get into the details, you'll understand this is way, way more exciting. And the opportunity here is massive. And for people who want to work on, something which we joke inside the team is, if we achieve what we're trying to do, we can disrupt SpaceX, because a lot of SpaceX business comes from launching small sats into the low Earth orbit. And if there is no commercial use of low Earth orbit, then that cuts into SpaceX revenue, and that's something exciting for us, because we can then maybe get Elon Musk pitched at us, something which we joke around in the team. But the capability to do that and disrupt an entire sector and create new market, I think people who are interested in that, not only from a tech background, but from people who want to build really good business out of this, and who want to help us out, they are ready. We are looking for folks who are very passionate and who want to solve problems in this field.
No, I think that's a great North Star. Piss off Elon Musk. If you've done that successfully, you know that you've done a good job.
Yes, that's the plan.
All right. And one more question.
Yeah.
Do you have any book recommendations?
That's very interesting, because over the last 1 year, the only books I have been reading has been something related in and around aerospace. But nothing off the top of my mind, but let me think about it, and let me repost it in the tweet. And
sure, you can reply to the live stream with your book recommendation.
Yeah, book recommendation, because right now the entire team is actually logged in. If you come to a workspace right now, we were working out of a 3 BHK apartment where we were building these aircrafts, and you could only see aircraft parts or just aerospace books in and around. But but it's exciting to work. It's very exciting work.
Very exciting.
Yeah. Physics humbles you in ways you don't know. You might have 3 consecutive successful flights and your team is fully high, and the next flight something fails and it crashes. And the entire ego boost which you get from those 3 flights is gone. It goes to zero. It's a fun journey. It's it has its roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster till now. It's going to be even more exciting, and we want people to join in.
Can't wait.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Shreepoorna, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks everybody for watching. Tomorrow is Wednesday. We'll be going live at 11 a.m. like we do every weekday. So tune in, and I'll catch